So we'll give a little bit more of a chance to let people join, but if anyone has questions for me, feel free to do it. I'm just going to introduce Emily, and then she's going to take over most of the session. We'll just wait for a few more people, but throw out any questions. Yeah, I'll just have, if everyone will have it muted, unless you actually have a question, then you can unmute yourself, mute everyone. So make sure you're muted if while we're listening. And feel free to ask, Emily's already said, feel free to interrupt with any questions that you have. And just some things to think about. We have a few questions to think about while you're listening to the talk tonight. And it has to do with some market research. So we want to know a little bit about why you like craft chocolate. Just think about these. I'll send a survey out afterwards where you can answer all these questions and then get a little discount code to buy more Belú chocolate after the tasting, after you decide which ones you like. Why do you like craft chocolate? What do you do to prepare yourself to eat your craft chocolate? And then, of course, which are your favorite bars? One of them, of course, has to be a Belú bar, but you know, you can eat, it's all right. And then how often do you eat chocolate, and what are the 3 main things you look for in craft chocolate? So I'll send this out as a email afterwards. And I don't know, I guess we give people about 5-ish minutes to join before we sort of get started. But a little bit more about my shop, if you don't know, is that I started off as a pottery shop. I make lots of clay pottery products. But since I had a storefront here in Stoughton, Wisconsin, I started selling chocolate, and that quickly exploded and outpaced everything else I do. And so now I have about 150 different craft chocolate bars from all over the world, about 60 different brands. Most of the time I try and pick and choose a couple chocolate bars from each brand, which I think add to the whole collection as a curated collection. But working with Valerie, who's joined in, I'm able to connect with a lot of producers in countries where the chocolate is grown. And so that's one area I'm trying to expand into, is try and get the chocolate from the country where the cacao is grown. So Emily in El Salvador is one of them. And then also there's España in Haiti that Valerie has connected me with. And hopefully we'll be getting some Norwegian chocolate here pretty soon too, although they don't grow chocolate in Norway. Let's see, we're still waiting for a few people. Hopefully a few more people. I did send out a lot of last minute invitations to people who don't have the sample set who wanted to join in. So hopefully they will join in a little bit. So I've been selling chocolate for about 2.5 years. And since I've been sort of shut down since March, I haven't done much pottery, but I have been trying to sell a lot of chocolate online. So that is pretty much about my shop. Oh, here we have someone else coming. Let's see, we get some more people coming in. Aha. Hello,
Sorry, I had lost my connection.
That's all right. That's all right. Welcome. Like I said, hopefully there are a few more people. I've sent out a few more of the kits to various people. So hopefully a few more will be jumping in here pretty soon. Yeah, hopefully pretty soon I'll be back to doing tastings in my shop, which is the main way that I found. And Emily, I'll just tell you a little bit. I pulled my Friday happy hour group with some of your questions. And one of the main ways that they decide what craft chocolate they like is by trying samples, unsurprisingly, because it's hard to know exactly what something's going to taste like until you try it, which was the whole point of my shop, was offering free samples to anyone who wanted them, which is sort of interesting now, what sells and what doesn't sell when I can no longer offer samples. So it really comes down a lot to packaging. Just let me know, Emily, whenever you want to get started, and okay. Because we've gone 5 minutes now. People, I'll be monitoring to jump in when people join. But so in case some of you may not know, but Emily makes craft chocolate in El Salvador from El Salvadoran beans. And she started with an idea in 2005 and then had to learn as she went because no one made chocolate bars in El Salvador. And so there's this big, huge, long journey over the last 15 years of coming with this idea of making chocolate with real good El Salvadoran chocolate, cacao beans, and producing a bar that can compete with the best bars in the world. So that's sort of this whole journey, punctuated right now by a little bit of a shutdown and other sorts of things going on. So I'm just going to sit back and monitor for people and ask, and I'll watch for questions. If anyone has questions they want to type in. I see everyone's muted, so that's great. If you want to ask a question, you can jump in and unmute and ask a question, or send a message, and I'll be watching messages and watching for more people to join. So Emily, go ahead and get started.
Yes. Hi, Brooke. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. It's my first time I'm doing a Zoom meeting with US customers. So I'm really excited. And I had some questions I sent Brooke today. I thought about it, that we can talk about it and help me guide the conversation. And the first one was, why do you eat craft chocolate? Because it's very unusual. It's still very new in many places. US has been pioneering in this area for the last 10 years. So it would be really interesting to hear some of your stories and how you started eating craft chocolate. And then I can tell you a little bit more about myself. So I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and say how they started eating craft chocolate. I don't know, if anyone has you can chat if you don't want to speak.
I start off a little bit. So like I said, I pulled my Friday afternoon happy hour chocolate group with these questions. So I have a few answers that I can, so the fields there who have joined are part of my happy hour group. So they are really right. Chocolate. And Brad over there is also a local customer. Those are two of my local customers. And he would probably be more of a weekly chocolate group joiner, except that we have to do it over online, and I know that's not his favorite. But some of the answers from today were that it just tastes better. Once you try craft chocolate, you can't go back to whatever super sugary chocolate it is because it tastes way too sweet. Other people said they like the simple ingredients and they like supporting direct production. Those were some of the answers from today. Anyone else have any add?
I can add something. So I'm not a craft chocolate eater, but I am a big craft beer person. And you can just appreciate the quality and the uniqueness of anything craft, right? I don't like eating like Hershey's or commercial bars because they just don't have much complexity or flavor to them. So when I tried Emily's chocolates, it just brings a whole different dimension to it, just like craft beer does.
Great, thank you, Carlos. So
that's kind of how I started. Also, is it more from wine? I liked wine a lot, and the different profiles and things that you get in wine, and started eating some chocolate and found that having just the different profiles and flavors, and again, like you said, the complexity of the chocolate intrigued me. And you're right, Brooke, once you start eating dark chocolate, milk chocolate doesn't really right. do it anymore.
Right. Well, I started with the idea, it kind of is just the same. We started with my husband thinking about it over 10 years ago. He lived in the US for 10 years, 5 years in South America, Europe. And when he came back to El Salvador, he said, oh, isn't it funny that we used to grow cacao in El Salvador, and now at some point we exported the cacao and it came back from Europe 10 times, pricier, and not necessarily, high quality, and the question was, how come we cannot do some ourselves, if we are cacao growers. At that point, El Salvador had given up completely on the cacao crop. And about 6 years ago now, the government said they were going to start, because the coffee crop had gone, the prices had gone down. There had been this plague called Roya, which had basically completely ruined that year's harvest. And so it was very, coffee was not doing that great anymore. They say, let's bring back the cacao. It's always in demand. It's a growing demand in the whole world. So at that point, I was a stay-at-home mom reading the newspapers and saying, aha. So, it wasn't a crazy idea that we should make chocolate in El Salvador. So, and the two main things I wanted to make when I started with this idea was to have chocolate with less sugar, chocolate that I could taste the profiles of the flavor well, and something that I would be very proud. Like, you normally don't hear great news about El Salvador. So I was hoping that if people would finally find El Salvador for something great, something that we did well, something that tasted great. So, so that's something that we would be proud of as a Salvadorian. So that's how we started, with that concept, doing something great, less sugary, and that you can feel the cacao taste, the variety of El Salvador. So, so pretty much, it's probably what all people, many of the craft chocolate eaters are looking for, is a different flavor, a true flavor of cacao. So I don't want to talk too much. I want to go in directly to the tasting, because I know everybody wants to taste the chocolate first, and then we can talk, on our way. And so, yes. Do you want to say something?
No, I just said if they haven't already eaten it.
Yes, that's the first question. Don't eat it until I explain how we're gonna eat it. If you have, I don't know if you have water nearby, or a cracker, or a piece of cheese, that will change the palate. Yes, and it's Friday, so I do have wine with me. This is a nice California wine. It's not that expensive. It's a good Murphy. It's I usually have like a Merlot, Shiraz, or a Chianti with chocolate. I don't like that so much a strong flavor of a Cabernet Sauvignon, but a little bit milder. But yes, I prefer red wines. I do like white wines with my orange peel bar, which we don't have in this tasting, but maybe I can send some and you can taste it later with white wine if you want to try it. Oh yeah, there you go.
I have one if someone emails me and really wants it.
Yeah, it's a really good one. It's also 70%. So, so we're gonna start with an 80% bar. I have the sampler, it's the mini size. This is how I usually do tastings, with a smaller size. If you ever done this kind of thing, you're gonna use your senses. You have to look, hear, taste, smell the product before eating it, and you have to eat it a tiny bit, and then this is since it's craft and it's small batch, the texture will be a little bit more solid than what you're used to. It would not dissolve as easily, so you have to have a few bites. I don't know how to say, like, munch it over, and then it will melt in your palate. So the first thing I do is I open it and I smell it, and this is an 80%, and I start with an 80%. I don't expect you to like it at the beginning. If you never tried it before, you probably won't like it because it's 80% mass cacao. That means it's like, to make one of the bars that you have there, it probably takes like 50 seeds, cacao beans, to 50 and between 50 and 70 seeds to make one. So it's a lot of cacao and little sugar. And I use also brown cane sugar, many bars from Europe or other countries use other types of sugar. We grow the sugar cane in El Salvador. It's easy to find. You buy it directly from the grower as well as the cacao. So we're really blessed and spoiled to have those two products in El Salvador grown locally. It takes me an hour to get, to go to the farm to get the sugar, an hour to get two to get to the cacao. And so we're really blessed to have that. Okay, so enough talking, smell it. You look at it, it has to have a little bit of a shine, a gloss, and also look that it doesn't have any air bubbles. And then you wanna break it down. I don't know how it's gonna work for you because of the traveling. If it has the snap sound, probably another bar will have the snap sound. I don't know if you were able to hear it. Also, the bars that you're trying right now, these are pandemia, how to say? Is that pandemia? Pandemic, sorry. Yes, and at that point when I made this, I didn't know when I was going to produce more. So this is the last batch before the pandemic. So give it a try.
And it was funny for me to get these bars, be able to get them to you. Emily says, I was able to sneak and get into my factory. This is what I got. And I said, just send it all to me. So that's how we were able to put this together. Right as
exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Brooke got the last bars. And I said, Brooke, I don't know when I'm going to get you some more, but we're already producing. So that's good news. So if you feel it, if you feel this, you will find it a little bit of acidity, and that's okay, and that you're supposed to feel a little bit acidity. And it's because the cacao bean, it's a fruit. And like all fruits, many fruits, it has some acid to it, and it's normal, and it should be behind a little bit, and it should be okay for you to like it or not. I don't know if you have any comments about the 80%. Like I said, 80% is, if you never tried it before, I don't expect you to like it. I don't know if anyone wants to say something.
One comment from today, some people, this was after trying a Ritual 80%, the Trinidad bar. Someone said, boy, the 80% are just so easy to eat these days. And I said, yeah, 80% is really like the new 70% for when it's done really well. And yours has a very, I figure straight earthiness to it with, like you said, a little bit of the acidity, but not overdone, right? It's not sour. So I think it fits right in there with those 80% that are really good. So
thank you. And also the 80%, my 80% will probably not be the same as an 80% from cacao from Africa or from Trinidad or from anywhere else. It will definitely feel different. And I find that my 80% will taste a little bit even sweeter than other 80%. And it's just because in El Salvador, how the cacao grows is right next to banana trees, to coconut trees. So it's all very fruity around the cacao tree. So that infuses in the flavor. So, and you know what? I started doing 100% bars, and initially I did it for bakery. And now it's one of like really up there, like top sellers. And I'm impressed how people have gone from not liking a 40% bar to loving 80 up to 100% cacao bar. So you taste this, and now let's try the 70%. You can even have another bite of the 80% right before having the 70%, so you can feel the different level of sugar. So I just had a little percent of the 80%. Now I'm gonna have the 70%. Again, smell it and you look at it. I hope it has a snap and a little glossiness. Can you feel the difference in the sugar, in the amount of sugar?
They are not very dark. like the 80%, it's not super dark. And I opened the 70% and it's almost the same color. It's like a medium brown. That's surprising.
Yes, it's the variety. You know, the variety in El Salvador. Everybody in Latin America will tell you this, that they have the original cacao beans. Ecuador, Peru, Mexico, Honduras, they always say we have the original. I don't know. We can discuss about it the whole night about it. But what it's true is that we've had cacao in Mesoamerica for a long, long time. And what happened in El Salvador is that we were a cacao producer country, and we left it untouched for like 50 years. We were not growing, we were not selling, and it was left like that. And now that it has come back, what the government has done right is that they sent people to the countryside to look for ancestral trees that have over 100 years. So they brought back all those ancestral seeds, and they've done nurseries, and now we're regrowing from those trees. So it's a very, and it was also 50 years ago already was mixed with Trinitario. So, but we call ours Trinitario Acriollado. And at the end of the day, it's a very like our own berry variety. In El Salvador, it hasn't been touched, it hasn't been mixed so much as other cacaos in other countries. So that's good that we didn't touch it for 50 years, because now we have like our own variety. And it 2 years ago, it was taken to the Salon du Chocolat in France. So they could taste the cacao beans, and they did say this, that it was a very unique variety, the flavor and the color. You know, when I also sell the cocoa for baking, and one of the comments I always get is that, I don't know if you can hear me fine. Can you hear me well? Yeah, okay. So one of the things I always get is, why isn't the cocoa so dark, the cocoa? And I said, it's because that's a true color of cocoa. It's a light brown. So if you see a really, really dark chocolate cake, it probably has something, you know, coloring in it. So the really cocoa and Salvadorian cacao and cocoa is a lighter brown. And we also, it's incredible. If you see the seed, like the criollo seed, it's like, you know, Ecuador has La Nación and these, you know, beans, and they talk about it, and they say it's like a white bean, it's a white seed, and it's very rare to find. When you open the cacao pots in El Salvador now, you only see white seeds. So it's amazing. It's like we have this hidden gem in El Salvador of a cacao variety. So that will probably, so most seeds are white in the interior, so that also makes it a lighter color in the chocolate per se. So I don't know, I think if I'm talking too much, please stop me. Let's just move on. I can talk a lot about chocolate the whole night. So if you want to jump in, talk, or say, just keep moving, let's keep tasting. But what I want to bring out on the 70% is that once you try the 80%, the 70% will really feel a lot sweeter. And if you were to try right now the milk, we wouldn't even do that right now. We'll not follow but if you want to try the milk right now, and I want you, probably we're going to jump, Brooke, I'm sorry. But I do want you guys to try the milk now.
The numbers on there are just a suggestion.
Okay, so I just want you, we can always go back. So I just want you to try the milk, because then you'll find it. This is still a dark chocolate bar. But can you feel the sweetness? Once you start eating a lot of dark chocolate, the milk, you will probably enjoy it and like it a lot, but I tend to go back to the 70% whenever I can. I rarely eat the milk anymore, and because I find it too sweet now. And this is a 40%, and a typical Hershey bar, we have 10% cacao, and this has 40%. So this is already a dark chocolate. But if you try from the 80, 70, and then you go to milk, you'll find it much more sweeter.
Emily, I see that you use skim milk and also whole milk powder. Why do you use two different milk? Why not just one milk powder?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great question. Already the cacao beans have half of it. It's butter.
Cocoa butter?
Cocoa butter, yes, thank you. So half of the seed, it's already butter. And so it's a lot of fat. It's a good fat, but it's a lot. So when you bring in the milk, you don't want to put, unnecessary fat. You want the taste, but not unnecessary fat. So usually there's a mix of both to level it off and not have a too, buttery, but not in a good way, bar.
Mm-hmm.
I like the texture. It's not just like other bars that feel like just plastic or they just melt. It has a little bit of grittiness to it, which is really nice.
And that's an
Yeah.
aspect that, depending on which direction you come from. So I've had people who like milk chocolate that I've given samples of this to who really dislike it, because what they like about milk chocolate is that European creamy, super, exactly what you're talking about, Carlos, right? That's what they're expecting, as opposed to coming from the dark side and working back. So sometimes when I'm trying to market or suggest things to people, I need to know what they're used to first and ease them one way or the other by suggesting different bars. So.
Right, and it happens to me as well in my store when I see that new clients coming in and they say, what they tell me is, this is a gift. And I always ask, do you know if your friend has tried dark chocolate before? And if they say, no, I don't. So I always suggest take 170% and take a milk, just to not be on the safe side. I know already the milk will not be the usual that you're used to, but it's on the safer side from people who have never tried the really dark. And it's very interesting. You know that taste varies from from Latin America to America to Europe. It's so different. I had many Europeans come to my store and they like the lighter roast. And Americans that come to my store, they like the darker roast. And you can almost always compare it to coffee. I believe Americans like a little bit more on the dark side of coffee, and Europeans like it more on this new trend. It's called the honey roast, that it's a little bit lighter. For me, even it's too light, the honey, but right now it's super popular, and that's what Europeans like it more on the lighter side. So yes. So, well, now that you tried and you've gone from 80, 70, and a 40%, we can go back to the sea salt. And this, I really recommend. You can pair it with a cheese, like a manchego cheese. Well, Brooke was telling me that in Wisconsin, they're big with the goat cheese. I think it will be, a cracker, a little bit of goat cheese, and a little bit of this on the side. It would work out perfectly. This, I don't want to sound like I drink a lot. I don't, but I have many customers that they like this with rum or whiskey. And this is I don't know why, a lot of my clients are male clients, and whenever I ask them how they eat it, it's like that with rum or a whiskey. Bourbon. I think Wisconsin has a lot of bourbon, right? Am I mistaken, or I don't know why I think that. So this it's again a 70% and only has some little grains that we put of salt just to give it a twist. Also, if you don't want to try it with rum, you can try it with and you want to do it on a sweet side. This is really good if you pair it with dulce de leche or caramel.
It would go good with good sipping tequila too.
Yes, and I tried that one. It's good. It's good. Yes, because of the salt, it will give you that sweet and salty. So yes, caramel, or you go on the other side. I don't know. So I'm letting you some time to taste. If you have bread, cheese, or water, you can, because right now we're gonna go on the, oh, we don't have the orange, right?
No, no orange.
No. Okay, sorry, I got confused and I brought the panela and I got confused and I brought my, okay, so we're gonna taste the panela. If you have the panela there, you can please
I think Valerie has.
wrap it and try it. Yes, and panela is it's not molasses, but it's very similar to molasses. It's in El Salvador, since we grow a lot of sugarcane. The artisanal way to get the sugar or the molasses is that it's heated and it's melted and it's put in this like, it's very artisanal. It's put in like tins and then it comes out like this little big bars like that. And it's wrapped with dried banana beans, the leaves of banana tree, but it's dried. So it's very nice little packages, and everybody used to have, instead of, you know, brown sugar or white sugar, everybody had in their homes before, like the panela at their home, and that's how they used to cook and do things, sauces, cook, baking with the panela. So this is bringing back the flavor of El Salvador in a bar. And this is an award-winning bar. I won the International Chocolate Award, the Bronze Award with this bar. And what I think about this bar, it feels like it has spices. It's not a plain brown sugar. You will find hints of different spices in it. So that's what makes it different. But it's still sugar cane in a different presentation. So I don't know if anyone has a comment on that one, or.
When Valerie first sent me a sample of all Emily's chocolate, this was the one that stood out for me the most. This was like my favorite one. But going back through them, wow, I really appreciate it a lot more than I did the first time through when I tasted these like a year ago. So, but this was the one that really said, wow, I really love this.
It's breaking down the.
You smell it right away. When you smell the spices right away. But it's a warm spiciness.
So
it's more like all the cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove, and all those warmer spices.
Right, exactly right. Can you say that again, please? I couldn't.
I said it definitely has hints of Salvadoran pastries as well, which are made with the same kind of sugar. So you really taste that distinct sweetness in it.
Exactly right. That's what I said. Like my grandmother was a baker, and she did everything with panela before. So there's a one famous bread in Los Angeles called semita, which is a big, you know, like a thick bread with sugar on top, and the filling is made with like a caramel made with panela. And we also have drinking chocolate that it's called tablilla. Many Latin American countries have it, and I also have that bar. I make them in this, and this is like, and I put cinnamon and coriander seeds and nutmeg, so you can really feel the spices when you're drinking it. So that's really how we are used to having chocolate in El Salvador, with more spices, and they can use smell as well. And most of your taste will come from the smell. So if I ever send you tablillas, it's nice to let people know that you should smell it as well when tasting it. So
Emily, do
yes.
do you have, in cooking, do you have mole sauces in El Salvador at all?
Mm-hmm. We don't have mole %, per se, but we have something similar that we do for turkey for Christmas. We also make turkey, but it's like range chicken. It's
Okay.
more, it's also like a different variety of turkey that you have in the US. And it's like a mole, but it's thinner. So yes, we put all kinds of seeds in that. And we put a little bit of cacao as well.
Oh, cool.
But it's a thinner sauce. So if you, talking about sauces, if you find that like the 80% is too much for you, or 70% is too much for you, don't throw away the chocolate. Use it as a sauce. 1 bar of the 70% and half of a bottle of red wine and pepper and salt will make a great, and you put it and you boil it. It makes a great sauce for steak, for like a filet mignon kind, like not a steak, but a beef. So never throw away chocolate. You can use it in different forms.
That's a good thing. So Emily, you should send me your recipe so I can send it out to everyone for that. But that's also, if you download my map, on the back, I always have what you do with bloomed or chocolate you don't like. Now my suggestion is making chocolate with cream, but it's a similar thing. Never throw away your chocolate. Add extra milk or fats or other things to it, and you can always use it. So this is, if you go to the event, you can download this, and on the back it has the chocolate with cream, which would be a similar idea. To use chocolate if it's bloomed or if you don't quite, if it's not your favorite. But I'd love to get a copy of the recipe as well that I can send out to everyone for that.
Yes, and I'll send the picture and I'll send the recipe because I do it a lot and people love that sauce. And also you can shave the chocolate, you can sprinkle it, it's like, you can use it for cookies. Chocolate is never wrong on anything else if you feel it's too dark for you. And also, if I would like to talk about the production process and why, like, each part that you have, it's so much more than just a plain simple bar. It takes years in the making. It takes a cacao tree 5 years to be mature enough to make the right beans, and then the cacao tree harvests twice a year. You can harvest twice a year. But right after you cut the cacao pod, you have to ferment it just like the wine. And it takes between 3 to 5 days. But those 3 to 5 days can make or break your chocolate. So you've grown a tree for 5 years, you harvest it. And if you miss the fermentation process 3 days, you can ruin the whole thing. So it's very tricky, and it's a new thing for Salvadorian farmers to do and growers. And I still do. I go back with them and work with them if I don't feel they've done it correctly. So I do go to the fields and try and work out the fermentation processes with them. I do have support from some technical people that will go with me and help them out so they can do it right. So after it's been fermented, they take me to my shop so I can taste it. And we cut the beans and I look at it, I smell it, I taste it, I weigh the beans. And if they pass like my standards, then I will buy them. And I will buy them for twice the price they will get in a normal market. So, and that's just because I know I pay the premium because I know it's totally worth all the work that they've done and everything, the effort they put in. And I work directly with the farmers, so it goes directly to them. And then after that, it probably takes a week for us to make a small batch. So if you think about it, it's a long process to make 1 bar. So that's why I say don't throw the chocolate, use it, because it had so much effort that I like to explain it because I don't think people really sometimes realize how much work it takes for 1 bar to be done correctly in the craft movement. I know big companies You know, Hershey's will probably get tons of cacao with random quality, and they just add sugar and milk, and you at the end you don't really taste the chocolate, the cacao. And it doesn't matter for that bars, but for ours it does matter. It does matter the effort of the farmers. And like I say, yesterday I was there in a field and looking at the beans. So it's a continuous work for me to go back to the farmers and talk to them and go back and forth. And the last month we had a lot of rains. There was a 1 week of nonstop rain in El Salvador. It rained the whole day and the whole night for 8 days. And so that has made the fermentation process go south a little. So I had to reject some beans, but at this point, the farmers know I'm doing it for their own benefit. Like one of the farmers took me some samples and said, please try them. I want to export them to France. And I say, don't export this batch. Let's make cocoa butter from this, but don't export. So I try to give feedback so everybody can level up the standard and have a good cacao bean in El Salvador. So I don't know if anyone has a question. Comment? No? Okay,
Yeah,
so yes.
Can I jump in? I loved your story just now, Emily, going to the fields, going to the cocoa farms. And I'm curious, when you go, do you ever bring your chocolate bars so that the farmers can taste what they had such an important hand in growing?
Yes, definitely. They know, they even want like my t-shirts. Because I usually go with the Belú cacao t-shirts, and then they ask me for my t-shirts, and I'm tending to do that. And yes,
What
they
do
know.
Do they give their feedback, or do you collaborate on some of those flavor notes at all?
Yes, no, I have a very close relationship with many of the people working the cacao, and they love purchasing sometimes as a co-op or as the company, if it's a private company, to give to friends and family for Christmas. And so they know exactly what I'm doing and what their chocolate tastes like, and they are very proud of it. And they have many of them that shop just to give them as gifts. Because they know it's their cacao. So it's when you get this close, it's amazing how you can trace even from the field, the area where the cacao comes from. Like each batch, you could even trace in the field where it came from. So that's really amazing. And cacao is so good for the environment. I also tell it's so good. It's a native plant. It thrives in the same ecosystem, like the original ecosystem with banana trees and coconut. So it's all great about the cacao plant itself. And the other thing is that it has you can harvest 2 or 3 times a year. So it gives a lot in a year. So it's a very, very kind plant, I find.
It loves us and we love it, right? It's mutual love. I have one more follow-up question. I love that farmers are getting to taste. That's sort of side note, something that I think some growers miss from other brands. And so I just knew that you were doing it. I think that's really meaningful. Follow-up question, where can we get Belú t-shirts?
That's a good one. Maybe I should start printing them. We should get you some, Valerie. Definitely.
Or that's distributed.
Yes. So I have the last bar here, and this one is, I sent it to Brooke in almost as a thank you for purchasing the last batch before the pandemic. This was, I'm still testing this. I think this is basically the final product. This is coffee. And the coffee I used in this bar is an award-winning coffee in Europe. And I know the grower. I've been to their production site. It's amazing. It's amazing what they do and so many people they help. And it's an award-winning coffee. And it was initially for a private event they were having. And so we went back and forth at least 6 times trying the amount of coffee, the amount of chocolate, until we both found out that they roasted for me. So this is special roast for this chocolate. We tried it many times until they were happy with the roast. And it's like more on the side of an espresso roast. So it's really dark. So let's try it. So let me see. So what do you think?
Really good.
Coffee is so hard, because coffee and chocolate, because they compete with each other, the taste, and also because people have coffee in so many different ways. Like someone like it darker, some like cappuccino, some like espresso, some like macchiatos. So you can drink coffee in so many different ways that it was hard to find the right taste for us. But I don't know, I like to hear more comments.
I'm not a big like chocolate coffee person, but I love coffee. And I know people try to do it very often. This is the best I've ever tasted.
Yay.
Thank
you.
This is done really, really well.
I think I might replace my morning cup of coffee with this.
Great. Yes, so in that bar, you're tasting great chocolate and great coffee, all in one.
I just messaged Brooke and I said, I can't wait till he gets his drinking chocolate thing going. That would make an incredible drinking chocolate.
Wow, yeah.
If you make more, you're going to make more of the coffee one?
Yes. I think the coffee grower loved the idea, and I loved the idea at the end. And we were thinking also making maybe a set of 3 bars with different milk and coffee, or just coffee. Because we were talking, there's so many different varieties to have coffee, and people have so many opinions that it was really hard to, pinpoint the right chocolate with coffee. So we were thinking maybe we should make a set, and then we'll see what goes from there. But he was really excited about the bar. So yes, it's coming up. I don't know, Genevieve, were you going to say something?
I forgot. No, I think I was just saying that it was a really nice balance. There was like no competition, and that's super hard. Like you say, I've had many coffee chocolate bars that were, not good at all, because it's very often the coffee overpower the chocolate. And
right, and
like totally like interwoven like perfectly.
Yes, we tried different roasts, we tried different quantities, so it was, at least six times we tried and it's hard to go directly with the coffee grower, because they also love so much your coffee that they want to, taste their coffee. So finding that, term was also very difficult. It gets very personal.
I really feel like making a hot chocolate with it.
Yes, that's what
really good. Yeah,
I think Brad was saying,
right.
That maybe we should try that.
Maybe you should help them make a mocha version of their coffee.
Well, yeah, I hope so. And that this coffee grower is also trying to have their own cacao farm. So I'm also kind of helping them with that. So I think it's like a good marriage, and I think I'll keep on working with them. And hopefully, I really hope that someday, and we spoke about it with Valerie, and the other day I was talking with Carlos about it, that hopefully people can eventually come to El Salvador and visit the cacao farms and the coffee farms. They're so beautiful, and the weather is almost always perfect. So So I can't wait for people to come to El Salvador and visit the cacao farms and the coffee farms. It's a really nice experience. Like from the coffee farm, it's in a high point, and you can see with your eyes all the way to Guatemala, and it's very nice. You see El Salvador and Guatemala in one point, so it's in the mountains, so it's very beautiful. So Brooke, how are we doing? Do you want to?
We're doing fine. This might be a good time to mention that I'll send out the questions that Emily asked in the beginning, just to get some market research back for her to help her improve her bars via email, through the same email that I've sent the Zoom link to everyone. And also on my website, I have still a couple sets of the tasting pack, which is the only way you can currently get another coffee bar. It's only in that pack, still available. And the other thing that I was going to mention is I have a lot of the bars online, and anything that you order now or in the next week, you can pre-order. It will be 10% off. I'll give you the code, and we will pre-order so Emily knows what to produce. Now, we probably won't get it till the fall, but anything you order now, I will supply to you in the fall at a discount, so that she can tailor her production to the bars that are your favorites. So that's part of the market research as well. And so I'll send out the whole list of what she has available. Even though we didn't get to try the orange, we didn't get to try the tablilla, we didn't get to try the 100%. If you're lucky enough to live in Stoughton, I do have some samples of those here in my shop, but I didn't have enough to include in the sampling pack. So anyway, so watch for your email for that, because we'll pre-order, we'll get a discount for that pre-order, and we'll help get production restarted in El Salvador. So.
Yes, and if we can, and I don't know if I'm asking too much, but if I send you another batch for this group, I'll definitely send the tablilla for free, because the tablilla I really love, and I find that people don't give it a try, and I think more people should try it, and I think they would love the flavor. So for this group, I'll send the tablilla. I don't know if I don't know how, we have to work that with you, Brooke.
and Emily, this would be a good chance. I think the most amazing story is how you got started at your local mill. It would be a good opportunity to tell your tablilla story to people who may not know how you actually got started, what your first attempts were at making a chocolate bar.
Yes, so, well, like I was saying, we had this great idea of let's make chocolate, and the first challenge is to get the cacao beans, because, okay, so I heard the news, they were going to start with cacao beans, but really there was no cacao beans in El Salvador at that point. So I had to go and search and look for cacao beans. I even have this story I told Brooke that they told me to go to a market, but like the central market in El Salvador, but it's a very sketchy place. And I went in a cab, and the taxi driver said, well, I'll drop you off there and you call me when you're ready, because I'm not gonna stick here. I'm gonna come back for you. And it was a little door, metal door, and they opened a little window and said, what do you want? I'm like, I want cacao beans. And this guy with the arm guy opened the door, and I'm like, going through this dark hallway, and then it opens up in this big warehouse filled with grains, all the cacao that you wanted, and different kind of grains that some I've never seen before in my life. And I started, so I started with that, buying some cacao from there and from friends. And then eventually I got, cacao suppliers. But then the thing is, I didn't know anything about how to make chocolate bars. I'm an economist. I worked in finance, and now I make chocolate. So I didn't know anything about it. And I got a lady who helped me. She did Salvadorian sweets. And so she helped me for 1 whole month to make the tablilla, which is our traditional drinking chocolate. And like in the times of my grandmother, they did their own tablillas because people had cacao trees in their backyards. So they made their own tablillas at home. And that's what she knew how to make. And so she said, but we need to go to the mill. And the local mills they have this, like a series or set of mills. And you see all the people with their big baskets filled with corn to make tortillas, or filled with beans to make fried beans and or the dough for the tamales. And so it's a very, very local, you know, way of living and to produce. And it costs 50 cents to go through the mill once, 50 cents of a dollar. And you get this big, humongous batches of corn or beans or whatever. And also, or I don't know if you heard horchatas, that is a drink also made with seeds, and people pass it through the mill. So the same goes for cacao. You pass it through the mill with water and sugar, and you get this paste. And then you have to move quickly, go back home, and you make the tablillas, the disc, by hand. And it has to be done while it's still warm, because then it becomes really like a rock solid dough, and you can't use it anymore. So you have to be really fast, and it's like really hot when it comes out from the mill. And I did this in the kitchen, my home kitchen, and with this lady, and it started once a week, and then twice a week, 3 times a week. Then it was Monday through Friday thing that I was doing. And so the tablilla, it's the cacao beans with cinnamon, coriander seeds, and nutmeg. So it has other spices in there. But the one thing I did different is like, mostly it's 1 part cacao, 5 parts sugar. And what I did, I wanted less sugar. It's 1 part cacao, 1 part sugar. And that's how I started selling. And many people really liked it. So it was very close to Christmas, and I sold a lot of those tablillas. And that's when I said, well, maybe this is, it is a good business opportunity. And so maybe that's why I love so much tablilla, because the first thing I did, it was not necessarily what I wanted to do, because it's grainier. You have to dissolve it in boiling water. You drink it, you don't eat it. And I really wanted to make the bar. So then it was the second part of the story, which is the quest of how to make chocolate, how to make it. Because every time I saw the YouTube videos, it was, you put the beans in a grinder or a small mill, and then it came out in liquid form, and you mold it. And it was so different from the tablilla. So, so eventually my husband went to a trade show in Chicago, but something different business. And he saw Erin Andrews from Indie Chocolate. I don't know if any of you have heard it. She has the chocolate factory in the Seattle market. And my husband said, this is exactly the equipment my wife is looking for. And she asked, where is she from? Where are you from? He said, El Salvador. And she was like, wow. And she said, you know what, come tomorrow and I'll give you this. You know, she was so excited about it. So I really appreciate her that she was the one who gave me the right equipment to make it a chocolate bar. And then she even went farther than, and like the following year, she sent me an equipment with one of her employees to Guatemala, and I went to pick up the second melanger to Guatemala. So she was very nice and friendly, and she's the Seattle chocolate maker in the Pike Place market, right? That's where she is. It's very famous. So so that's how I initially started with the bars, eventually started with the bars. But that's why I love tablillas, because it gave me the first taste of chocolate making in a very traditional way and helped me, you know, move and make a business out of it. So that's it. So I don't know if you have.
I just think, and that's why it would have been fun to include the tablilla bar in this tasting, but I believe you didn't have any, right? When I ordered that big. So
probably not. It's very local. I am very hesitant to offer it in the US because I don't think people are ready for it. I don't know. But we'll get to it. Yes.
All right, cool. So do people have any other questions about, you know, we've hit about an hour. Any questions for Emily? Anything that you want me to bring in besides t-shirts? You know, everyone can send me an email. We can tell them if you want to order, and we can include that. So next time there's a shipment, or maybe you'll fly up to Chicago and deliver the shipments, you know, whatever works.
Yes, hopefully someday I'll be back.
I think it's so great. I just love the story of starting with tablilla at the local mill, making tablilla, but really wanting to make chocolate bars, and then figuring out a way to do it. And that only took, what, 10 years to figure out all that? So
No, the idea was 10 years ago, and then it's been 5 years. 5 years. Working from my kitchen 3 years, and now it's been 2 years since I have a site. And it's really small. And I also, what I'm proud of saying is that I also hire women that come from rural areas, that come from very difficult areas and backgrounds. And I treat them fairly, I pay them fairly, and that's incredible, very unusual. Here in El Salvador, you don't usually get your funds for retirement or your social security, like health security, and I provide them with that. So that's what I'm really proud of that I work with them, and I am able to do that from this little shop and production site in El Salvador. And behind me, it's all the cacao growers and farmers and sugarcane. So it's a complete chain that it's represented in bars, in chocolate bars, but it's a lot of people working to make that chocolate bar. So, and also now I've been talking about the pandemic in other Zoom meetings, and it's been really hard. Like right now, I was telling Valerie, I've been able to start production basically this week with one of the production workers, and I have to go and pick her up, pay for transportation to bring her, because there's no public transportation yet. But it's the only way to do it right now. So it's been very hard, but we're trying to make it work and to keep on going. And it just feels so great to feel productive, and again, and to be able to provide to these families, because they're counting on me. And even though it's been so hard, I think the pandemic has brought up the community closer, and so that's good. And also has given me the opportunity to reach Brooke and Barry and you guys and be in this meeting, that we talked about it for so long and we never got to do it, but here we are. Thanks to the pandemic. And I think that's, it's been great. It's the positive side of the pandemic that I can get to talk to you guys. If not, we probably will be another Friday night in El Salvador.
And to add to that, I can't wait to start the Yahara chocolate travel side of the business, so I'll go visit too. So
yeah, you come over. Anyone can call me and we'll set something up. Yes, definitely. So I don't want to spend more of your, keep you go. I can keep on going. I can keep on talking, but I don't want to bore you, or I don't know.
So if anyone has any other questions, we scheduled about an hour. We've been about an hour. We're open to either for me or for Emily or for anyone. And like I said, I'll watch your emails I'll send an email out with a list of all the bars that Emily can produce. And you just email me back or go online. I have the panela and I have the sea salt bars available now. Those are the only two. And if you want the coffee bar, you have to buy another set. But it's a really good deal because you're essentially getting the coffee bar for free when you order the set. So those are the things that I have available right now. But like I said, we'll put some orders in. We'll get a production ready. We'll get money flowing back to El Salvador and all the workers who helped Emily succeed. So.
Thank you. And I was reading the chat about the tablilla, and yes, I think it's something that came from the Spaniards, the tablilla. So Filipinos, we have a lot in common with them. Yes. So thank you. And yes, I'm here. If you have any questions, you can email me, follow me on Instagram. That really helps. I was telling Carlos the other day that sometimes it's very difficult for women in business in El Salvador and small business owners. I've been going to the banks to ask for loans, And I finally got one, but it took me about like 5 banks said no. And I actually had to go and show them pictures and see these are the people who like my product, and they're not only from El Salvador. So if you give like or show that you're eating your Belú cacao from somewhere else, it really helps. The picture really helps. So follow me on Instagram and send me a note or a story, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, that'll be something else. So I'll add that to the list. Send a selfie with you eating a Belú bar in front of something that shows what town or state or wherever you are, and we'll send them all to Emily as a thank you. So.
Okay. And can we take a picture like that? Like, can you take the picture on the, so we can put it on Instagram?
I'm not
can
sure.
you
I'm
do that?
recording this whole thing. I don't know exactly how that will work.
I don't know how to take the picture, but
I can
oh.
take a picture. I'll send it to you guys.
Okay, yeah, you do it. Thank you.
Just give me a second. Okay. Can you hold this? Okay. Sorry, you ready?
Okay, yes. Say when.
What happened?
I think I did. I cut us off because I put airplane mode.
You want to take it again?
Cut this off.
So we're no longer on the thing.
No. I think
Oh,
I'm
there you
sorry. I cut off.
go.
I don't know what happened. Let me see if that worked real quick. It did.
Okay, but it's bad.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a bad picture. Let's try again. Let's try again.
Okay, okay, let's try again.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let me check
Thank you,
that out.
Carlos.
Okay.
Better.
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Gracias, Emily.
Gracias.
Thank
Ciao.
you so much.